You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere. This is your WXCO Daily News Roundup for Bull Falls Radio, 98.9 FM and 1230 AM in Wausau.
For WXCO News, I'm Brittany Merlot. Southeastern Wisconsin is now home to the state's first large-scale battery storage facility. Stuart J. Waddles has more.
We Energies says the Paris Solar Battery Park in Kenosha County is now fully operational. The site's new battery system stores enough electricity to power more than 130,000 homes for 4 hours. Solar panels at that site have been working since last December. We Energies is leading the project with partners involved, including Wisconsin Public Service and Madison Gas and Electric.
And hurricane season started at the beginning of this month and runs through the end of November. That's a 6-month-long season. And the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration predicts a 60% chance of an above-normal season to strike. NOAA thinks that there'll be at least 13 to 19 named storms with winds of 39 miles per hour or more. And of those, 6 to 10 are expected to become hurricanes with winds of 74 miles per hour plus. And as for the major destructive hurricanes, Category 3, 4, or 5 strength, NOAA says we'll probably see 3 to 5 of those this season. So here's what's happening. We're still in an ENSO neutral phase, which means we're not in an El Nino pattern or a La Nina. This means the trade winds are weaker, with still well above normal ocean water temperatures. And pairing the higher heat with the weak wind shear, it'll make it much easier for tropical storms to form. Plus, there's also forecasted to be higher activity with the West African monsoon. That's where hurricanes start. NOAA says they're about 70% confident in their forecast for this hurricane season. And last year's season became the third costliest on record. It featured 18 named storms, 11 hurricanes, and 5 were major. Gas prices fell slightly over the past week, dropping a little over 1.5 cents to land at $2.95 today. This is 3 cents higher than a month ago and over 27 cents per gallon cheaper than this time last year. And we're not the only state whose prices have declined. Melissa Kay tells us more.
Officials at Gas Buddy say refineries have ramped up output and gasoline supplies surged. There is an overall gentle downward trend across the country as summer progresses. Officials say if oil prices continue their gradual rise, gas prices could be impacted, but we shouldn't see any major shift in the week ahead.
And road construction is ongoing on another section of Wisconsin Highway 29 in Marathon County. Governor Evers signed a $10.1 million contract to improve the deteriorating roads. The work has been progressing in recent seasons, with sections of it being worked on in intervals. This year, American Asphalt of Wisconsin crews are working between Purple Martin Lane and Little Rib River. The 12-mile section begins before Marathon City and extends into Wausau. They're resurfacing the highway, replacing culvert pipes, and installing new guardrails at some locations. And during construction, Highway 29 will be open, but down to 1 lane of traffic in each direction at all times. The project is scheduled to be done by fall. And you can freshen up your landscaping or gardening project with cranberry leaf compost. You can use it as ground cover in vegetable gardens and flower beds, and it can be used alone or mixed 50-50 with topsoil. The compost is pH neutral, weed C-free, and made from cranberry leaves on a family farm in Manitowish waters. You can call to schedule a pickup or delivery. It's $20 per yard with a 10-yard minimum. Visit manitowishcranberry.com/compost for more information. Lead hazards are bringing Baldwin to the Bruce City. Stuart J. Waddles tells us more.
Senator Tammy Baldwin is set to visit a Milwaukee Public Schools building today to meet with parents affected by lead hazards that forced school closures this year. The visit at the Starms Discovery Learning Center comes after the Trump administration fired the entire childhood lead poisoning prevention surveillance branch. That left Milwaukee without on-site expert help as requested by the CDC. In a statement, Baldwin continues to call for federal support and the reinstatement of the lead experts.
And 100 Vietnam War veterans will board the Yellow Ribbon Honor Flight to Washington, D.C. as part of EAA AirVenture's annual salute to veterans. Lisa Hale has the details.
The veterans will travel to the nation's capital on July 25th to tour war memorials at no cost to them. At the conclusion of the Friday afternoon air show, thousands of people will welcome the veterans home as they return to Oshkosh. The 72nd annual EAA Air Venture Fly-In Convention is July 21st through 27th at Whitman Regional Airport in Oshkosh.
And the National Weather Service is warning of severe staffing shortages in Wisconsin, and that none of their offices in the state have a chief meteorologist. The agency has 3 offices covering a majority of the state, with the Northwest region covered by offices in Minneapolis and Duluth. And due to federal cuts under the Trump administration, the remaining offices have also cut some of their services, like balloon launches. The cuts come as Wisconsin sees more tornadoes than usual. We've already nearly hit the average of 23 that the state sees in a year. And June and July are the most active months for them. A Madison group wants to help all first responders in the state connect with children in crisis. Lisa Hale tells us more.
When there's an accident, fire, an arrest, or situation that puts children in crisis, calming them, distracting them, oftentimes falls to the first responders. Kate Mann is the executive director of Reach a Child in Madison. Her organization supplies first responders with bags filled with books to help them connect to children in crisis.
And this is a way that we can help to comfort them and also distract them, take their mind off of the crisis at hand versus, say, a stuffed animal, which, it can comfort in its own way. That doesn't really distract from the crisis. But when we can get them engaged in a book, that really helps to calm them down.
Reach a Child applies for grants and seeks donations at reachachild.org to cover all costs.
Speaking as a first responder, our budgets are pretty tight and we don't have extra money to spend for books, right, to hand out to kids in crisis. So this is a wonderful tool that's provided to first responders free of charge that they can use in a proactive way when they encounter kids in crisis.
About 350 first responder groups have Reach a Child tools. Mann says it's her goal to get the bags to all 600 first responder organizations in Wisconsin.
And Democratic state lawmakers have introduced a package of bills seeking to send a message about resisting the Trump administration's agenda. Among the bills are one to withhold state payments to the federal government if the federal government withholds funding to the state. And there's another one to create guardrails on how the state submits personal information to the federal government, and another allowing the state to impose liens on federal properties in response to funding freezes. I'm Brittany Merlot for WXCO.
The Packers release Jair. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with Sports. NFL, the Green Bay Packers have decided to part ways with Jair Alexander. ESPN reporting the 28-year-old defensive back was prepared to report to the team's minicamp tomorrow. Jair Alexander has missed over half the games the past 2 seasons due to injury. Baseball tonight. The Brewers opening a 3-game series at home against the Atlanta Braves. Veteran lefty Chris Sale on the mound for the Braves against Milwaukee's right-hander Aaron Savalier. The Brewers losing 1-0 yesterday to the Padres. Desperate to score a run, Pat Murphy admitted after the game he gambled, putting in a pinch runner in for Rhys Hoskins in the 7th, saying it was a mistake considering Hoskins could have had another at-bat in the 9th.
It's one of those decisions. 7th, 8th, or 9th, do you pinch run for your slowest guy? It backfired today. It wasn't the right call today, that's for sure.
NBA Finals, the Pacers losing to the Thunder 123-107. Game 3 in Indianapolis Wednesday night. With Sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Billy Joel has been famous for decades, but the fame came with a price. The first part of a new documentary just premiered at the Tribeca Film Festival about Joel's life called Billy Joel, and So It Goes. The documentary is chock full of salacious details about his life, like the fact that Joel attempted suicide twice after having an affair with his best friend's wife. In the 1960s, Joel was in a band called Attila with his best friend John Small and moved in with Small, his wife Elizabeth, and their son. Joel said the relationship with Small's wife Elizabeth was a slow courtship, but eventually he had to tell his friend that he was in love with his wife. The friend was not happy and punched Joel in the face and sent him looking for a new place to live. Joel ended up connecting with Elizabeth a few years later and marrying her. The marriage lasted from 1973 to 1982. All great couples have an interesting story about how they met. Starting July 1st, you can take even more time getting to your seat at the movies. That is, if you're going to AMC theaters. The Hollywood Reporter says commercials will start playing before movies, along with coming attractions. The theater chain set up a deal with National Cinemedia. With commercials, the Dolby Surround Sound ads, theater etiquette ads, and previews, you actually have time to watch another movie on your phone before your featured attraction starts. But use headphones, please. Otherwise, it would be rude. Sydney Sweeney has been in the news quite a bit lately. She's now part of a new thriller, and not the kind that involves her selling her bathwater. She and Julianne Moore have teamed up in a new thriller called Echo Valley. Moore plays a divorced single mom raising her daughter, played by Sweeney, who is running with the wrong crowd and has a drug problem, which causes her and her mom to go broke. Might have to use some of that soap money. The film is directed by BAFTA winner Michael Pierce and drops on Apple TV June 13th. Not sure if Steve Carell has big feet, but his shoes will be tough to fill. No one knows that more than Domhnall Gleeson, who will play the boss on a new spin-off of NBC's The Office. The Paper will feature the same documentary film crew from The Office, even though it was never really featured, as they record the daily happenings of a dying local newspaper, and it will be brought to you by the same team that brought you the American version of The Office. Gleason, the son of actor Brendan Gleeson, knows the challenges he faces. The actor said he recently received encouraging words from Carell's Office co-star John Krasinski, who reassured the actor that he was in great hands with executive producer Greg Daniels. Daniels successfully rebooted Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant's show of the same title from the UK. Although the title is different, the challenges faced in The Paper are the same faced by those who ran a fictitious paper company. There is no release date yet, but The Paper will premiere in Septembiz on Peacock. For more showbiz fun, tune into Nightlight with me, Pete Schwaba, weeknights from 6 to 8 p.m. on the Civic Media Radio Network.
It is going to be mostly cloudy with a few scattered showers possible today. Our high in the low 60s this afternoon. Tonight, an isolated shower or thunderstorm possible with a low dropping into the low to mid 50s. Tomorrow, sunny and a bit warmer with a high in the low to mid 70s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable. Currently, it's 51.
That's your WXCO Daily News Roundup from Civic Media. Subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find your podcasts. Find more news at bullfallsradio.com. The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.